but I know what those steps are. It allows us just to keep that momentum going forward for whatever period of time we have, and it allows them to kind of sit back, relax, and trust us to lead them through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we believe that the next chapter of your life requires a new shift in trust. Now, as a business owner or as an investor, that trust has either been mostly or exclusively with yourself, maybe with your CPA for some tax stuff for sure, maybe with a financial advisor you've worked with, maybe some investment groups. But what's happening is this shift, it's a new level of a shift because it's now representing typically most business owners we work with or investors we work with when they're exiting with us. It's the vast majority of their net worth. It's 70, 80, 90% of their net worth, and it's happening all in a moment. And this is the moment of execution between big tax bill and momentum to keep the wealth compounding like Dan was talking about. And so we want to encourage you to have a mindset of a new shift of trust because you are becoming a lender in this situation, right? You're becoming a bank. And most of us haven't had a bank, Dan. We didn't run a bank. We've always had banks that we held our capital at, right? Our investments at. And so it's a shift for folks to understand that you're becoming the creditor, right? Hey, welcome to a short episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. You also might be finding this on Build It to Billions. Today, we're talking about execution. And if you're building a capital gains tax exit plan, what you need to know, how to execute when it comes to closing. I want to start with this story. And it's a story when I was at Marcus and Millichap, and I was trying to figure out how to execute and close deals. I mean, it was tough. It was the 2008 crash, 2009. Things were really hard, and I had a client that I was trying to win a client. I had a lead that was trying to become a client, and I just wasn't getting the momentum. And I remember talking to a mentor of mine in the office, and he said, the moment you know more about their problem and the ability to execute to solve that problem is the moment you start adding value, and every other moment before that is just wasting their time. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because the challenge becomes, how do you do that when you don't have the experience? And Dan, this is kind of the topic at hand. When people don't have the experience when they're exiting their businesses, real estate, investments, and building a capital gains tax exit plan, they can feel like this execution moment is a heavy lift. And by the way, everybody, I'm Brett Swartz. He's Dan Palmer, Capital Gains Tax Solutions. So Dan, what have you found when it comes to, okay, they're ready to go, they want to get started with us, and it's the moment where they need to start executing. What are some of the things that would help a business owner right now who's listening, an investor, to have the right mindset and to avoid some of the mistakes? We'll talk about them here, but I'm just curious, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah. When someone's at that point, Brett, it's overwhelming. I mean, everything's kind of crashing down. They built their business or whatever over a long period of time, and now it's going to market, and maybe they've got buyers already, and they got their CPAs and the buyers council and everybody. Everything's going so quickly, and it can be really overwhelming. And it's important for us to remember, because we deal with this every day, this is probably the biggest exit of their entire life. And so for us, it's a Tuesday, but for them, this is like a gigantic moment for them. And so what I've learned is just giving them an expectation of what the different steps in the process are makes it very helpful for them to kind of keep their momentum going and understand where we're trying to lead them in whatever period of time we have, whether they call us 7 days before close, or whether we've got 30, 60, 90 days to kind of plan and prepare. We want to have our introductory call to figure out what's going on, what's the timing, what are they trying to accomplish, what are their motivations, what are their goals, what are they hoping to do with the proceeds. And it gives us a chance to explain how we can help them and serve them. And so it's really a fact-finding mission. And then from there, we're going to go to that legal call. We're going to kind of run the numbers and let them see a side-by-side comparison of how deferring the capital gains can double or triple their wealth. We're going to introduce them to the tax attorney so they can hear the legal insight of why this is effective, why it's legal, what the proven track record is, so they can feel comfortable that they're not taking a chance or a risk, and that alleviates a lot of the concern. And then we've got to continue moving forward into choosing a trust name, making an investment strategy, figuring out how we're going to allocate the money, how much we're going to pay them. And I think when they see that process and they go, okay, I feel really stressed and overwhelmed, but Dan and Brett have laid out what this process is, and I'm only on step 3 of 8, but I know what those steps are. It allows us just to keep that momentum going forward for whatever period of time we have, and it allows them to kind of sit back, relax, and trust us to lead them through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we believe that the next chapter of your life requires a new shift in trust. Now, as a business owner or as an investor, that trust has either been mostly or exclusively with yourself, maybe with your CPA for some tax stuff for sure, maybe with a financial advisor you've worked with, maybe some investment groups. But what's happening is this shift, it's a new level of a shift because it's now representing typically most business owners we work with or investors we work with when they're exiting with us, it's the vast majority of their net worth. It's 70, 80, 90% of their net worth, and it's happening all in a moment. And this is the moment of execution between big tax bill and momentum to keep the wealth compounding like Dan was talking about. And so we want to encourage you to have a mindset of a new shift of trust because you are becoming a lender in this situation, right? You're becoming a bank. And most of us haven't had a bank, Dan. We didn't run a bank. We've always had banks that we held our capital at, right? Our investments at. And so it's a shift for folks to understand that you're becoming the creditor, right? So that shift in trust doesn't mean you don't have controls. It just means you're going to be executing in a little bit different way by working more on a team with the trustees, part of what we provide here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions. And this takes what we like to call the successful exit pyramid. And if you're thinking of, I always think of John Wooden's pyramid of success, right? And there's certain foundational core principles there. And I love the way that John puts it for success, the definition of success. The success is peace of mind, which is the direct result of self-satisfaction, knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. It's kind of a big statement, but in essence, you're giving your best effort forward to be the best that you're capable of becoming. We believe that also should be applied for your exit, and so much so that we exist to unlock capital gains to multiply freedom and impact. That is our core of like what we believe, and we want to help you achieve that. And so I want you to think about the successful exit pyramid. If you haven't picked up the Pyramid of Success from John Wooden, check it out. Go online, and in fact, I have this sitting on my desk. Played basketball in college, and try to play as much as I can. And it's a really neat one. And so some of the things to think about on the bottom of the pyramid is this idea and mindset of stewardship, right? That everything that we've been given or that we've earned or that we've built has been given to us as a gift to bless others, our families, to bless community, right? For MVPs, we call them the most vulnerable people. And that's the foundation. And there's an opportunity to steward with this execution of a trust, setting up the way that we set up with an installment sale method, typically, that you can defer this tax, you can compound. It's going to take a mindset of stewardship. On top of that, it's going to take a mindset of leadership. You're going to lead in a slightly different way, where you're going to be entrusting others to help. A good leader also knows what a kind of 360 leader, when to be in the middle of the pack, the bottom of the pack, the top of the pack. And leading this exit is going to take trust in the tax attorney that we work with, the trustee, who's us, the financial advisor that we bring on, or the one that you're going to bring on your team. And so having a mindset of stewardship and an adjustment of shift in trust is really important. And ultimately, it comes down to stewarding the vision for what does this wealth look like for you long term, and then entrusting the execution to the team. So practically speaking, Dan touched on it. You've already signed an engagement agreement at this point. The execution of the contract has already happened for the sale of your business or property. You are moving towards the closing, and now it's all about making sure that the right people are in the right seats at the right time, so the bus can basically arrive on time. So who is that? I mean, that's your CPA. We want to make sure that they're really clear on what's happening. We want to make sure if it's your financial advisor, they're very clear and that the accounts are opened up properly, the trust are, so that they can receive the funds. If you're with escrow company you're working with the correct escrow company that understands how to do this. Now, if you're working with us, we've already given you that correct escrow company, at least prep them for it so they understand. the real estate brokers are putting into the contract the necessary language to make sure that it's not only properly placed at the timing before contingencies are removed, but also so that they know how to navigate the contract with the buyer. It means the trust is actually formed. It also means that you have access to view the funds for where the accounts are going to be landing. Wire instructions are created for this trust, and these are sent properly and securely. We have a full transaction coordination team to help you with all of this, but your awareness of this is going to, and understanding the steps is going to help you be a better steward and to be able to entrust the execution. So what we're saying here, it's not so much what you'll be doing, it's more so that how you'll be connecting the communication channels, having a high degree of communication so that the professionals can execute properly in time. The one thing we can't do is miss deadlines, such as not having the trust set up properly and into the contract prior to the close of escrow, or even really prior to the removal of all contingencies. Dan, I'm thinking about deals that we have, and sometimes it's down to the wire, right? And there's 30 days to close. They're meeting us for the first time. And you're right, it's representing this huge moment. And there's, what feels like maybe 100 steps. But if you take one at a time, these are steps that once you take them, they're kind of behind you until it closes. What else do you want to make sure that folks that are listening hear about the execution process?
Well, I think it's really helpful for everyone listening to hear you kind of explain what we're doing in the background. I think it's good to know that you're working with a partner that is an expert at what they do. And so, not only are we like the trustee for the trust, we're also someone that can be trusted as they go through the process, as we set all these things up in the proper timing, in the proper way. When you bring up John Wooden, you're speaking my love language as a UCLA grad. I don't like to start at the bottom of the pyramid because I never like to start at the bottom. I want to go all the way up to the top. And at the top of that pyramid, all these things work together to create what John Wooden called competitive greatness, which means you perform your best when your best is required. That's competitive. When everything comes together, you give your best when your best is required. And that's what I like to think about capital gains tax solutions. When we're coming up on that close, exactly what we're talking about now, and we're in the process and the timelines are coming, that's where we want to exhibit competitive greatness and make sure that we lead our clients to have everything set up in the proper time, in the proper sequence, and give them the comfortability to know that we kind of have their back and that we're going to bring our expertise to bear to make sure that everything goes through smoothly and according to their plans, and they're going to walk away deferring probably 25 to 40% of their proceeds and have all that money working for them and their family, creating what we like to call truly passive cash flow, where instead of managing a business or managing a property, you just look in your bank account and the money's just landing there every month because it's you have the full proceeds working for you. It's been invested wisely. It's diversified, and the payments are coming to you, and now you can kind of live that life that you've dreamed. So in my mind, that's what competitive greatness is for our
Absolutely,
company.
Dan.
Yeah, we have that responsibility.
And continue on the success exit pyramid. Excellent, Dan. Yeah, I think you cut out this for a second, but continue on the successful exit pyramid. We have stewardship as part of the foundation. You have leadership, you have trust, you have poise, and then you have peace of mind. And I love how you put that. The top of the pyramid is you perform your best when your best is required. Absolutely. I like to say we've put in 20 years and over 10,000 hours throughout my career and collectively our team's career, so that you can put it in 5 to 10 hours to have an extra 20 to 50% of your exit on the first ROI, plus the compounding effect of any income tax deferral or any new depreciation schedules or the asset protection piece of this or the estate tax elimination. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. And our hope is at the very top, if you go on this journey with us and we execute on the exit planning of your exit, that you'll have peace of mind, that you'll work with us, and you'll have success with your exit. And I love the way you say proper timing and the proper way, so important, right? Timing and sequencing and combination. and even post-closing, layering and sequencing other strategies that also might help you with income tax, new depreciation schedules, strategies in investment opportunities into real estate. All of these create the success of the exit. It's not just a moment in time. It's not just setting up a trust one time. It's a dynamic, ongoing, we're in this together with you as a team to move forward in a very, very compounding, transformational, hopefully for you and your family, more freedom, more impact. And we want to encourage you to take time to ask us great questions, to dive in with us, to really understand everything that we're talking about here. And again, to steward the vision. That's really so important. Do not forget that you have a vision for your wealth, for your family, for your legacy, and to steward that vision and entrust the execution, especially right at the exit, right? Especially right at the exit, because it is a transformational moment for 20 to 50% and or the estate tax elimination for generations to come. And we don't want to drop the ball. Like, I played football in high school, like you did, Dan. And if you're running for that touchdown and you're running 99 yards, and I think it was Leon Lett for the Dallas Cowboys, I think he moved the ball out to the side, and the guy came up and stripped it one last second, right before he crossed over. No touchdown, right? It went the other way. You don't want to fumble the ball right at closing. We're here for you. We are up against the hour. I wanted to say a couple other things too about execution, right? If you happen to be selling an investment real estate property and you're saying, Brett, I'm up against the gun, or I didn't have time to fully vet, I'm closing in, a shorter period of time, maybe it's 10 days or 20 days or something, and I need more time with you and your team. I want to let you know that's okay. We have a best 1031 exit plan that allows you to do a partial 1031, or at least go for your 1031. And should you want to use our services on day 45 of that 1031, we can execute on our trust strategy. You also might do a partial 1031 and do half of your exit. Let's say you had a $10 million exit, you had $5 million. The other 5 you want to go into our strategy. You can do a little bit of both. We call that a bifractured 1031. You might have a debt over basis issue that we need to talk about how to execute. Either pay down the debt to the basis before closing and or replace that debt via a partial Delaware 1031. These are all a lot of if-thens opportunities of execution and or tax. And so we want to help you navigate this piece of it. So just realize if you feel like you're behind the ball and you're running out of time and you're only catching us here before your exit, we've closed deals in 10, 21 days from the time people have met us. As long as your contract still has contingencies remaining, you can absolutely still use our services. If you're investment real estate, you get a little bonus time in case you're like, well, Brett, I don't have contingencies remaining. I'm closing in a couple days. We can then have you work with our 1031 company that we work with, and that buys us a new little bonus time of about 45 days where we can close the trust on day 46. And so proper timing, proper setup, correct escrow, correct brokers, correct team. The earlier the better. And as a reminder, we work on a 100% conditional basis. So at any point you don't think it's a good fit or your deal's not going to work out, it's no problem. You don't owe us anything. It's 100% conditional. So your deal either has to close and you have to say yes all the way through the end for us to get paid. So it's a success fee at closing. And then before that, you have a chance to, say no, which is we don't ever want to pressure you into anything. We want to make sure it's a great fit. Dan, any last thoughts before we wrap it up, or what should people do if they want to contact with us?
Yeah, not a lot to add to that. I think if anyone's listening and they're in the situation where they have an exit upcoming, one of the big takeaways from this is that we know how to help you and we know the process, and you don't have to necessarily know all of the steps up front. We will walk you through that and we'll help you get across the finish line successfully. That's our pledge to you.
Absolutely. He's Dan Palmer. I'm Brett Swartz, capitalgainstaxnews.com to get started. If you haven't already, book a time with us. If you have a sale of a property or business or real estate or stock of $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain at the minimum. We look forward to connecting with you real soon. Share this with someone who it could help, a CPA, financial advisor, a real estate broker who could help as well. We appreciate everyone out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.